Okay, we are diving into something today that is, well, it's both immediate and profoundly impactful.
It really is. We're talking about a significant, almost unnoticed action happening right now.
Happening behind the scenes from the Social Security Administration, the SSA, that could completely reshape your finances next year.
And this isn't just some routine paperwork. Our sources indicate this is a major administrative push.
Right. And it affects millions of people.
Mm.
People who rely on SSI, SSDI, or even just standard retirement benefits.
Yeah, pretty much everyone is on the table here.
So here's the core issue, and it's why you really need to pay close attention. Over the next, say, 7 to 10 days, a very specific letter is likely to land in your mailbox.
Just a single piece of mail.
A single envelope,
Yeah.
maybe a few pages, but it carries the power to dictate exactly what your 2026 benefits will look like.
And we mean everything. Your monthly check amount, how your cost of living adjustment, your CLA gets calculated.
And even your eligibility status.
Yeah.
It's all connected to this one letter.
So, our mission today is to give you the shortcut you need. We're going to unpack why the SSA is rushing this process now, who is most likely to get this letter.
And most importantly, the exact checklist, the steps you absolutely must take to protect or maybe even improve your 2026 payments.
This isn't a rumor. This is a deep dive into planned federal mandates.
Let's jump right in. Section 1, the urgent SSA review cycle. What is actually going on that's making this happen so fast?
Well, what's fascinating here is that this is mandatory. The push is coming from outside the SSA itself.
Oh, interesting.
The agency is preparing for one of its largest eligibility and income verification cycles in recent memory.
And normally these things, these redeterminations or disability reviews, they move at a snail's pace, right?
A glacial pace, they're usually spread out over months, sometimes even years. Very slow, very bureaucratic.
But that's not happening this time.
Right.
That slow process is being completely disrupted. So what's the driver behind this sudden urgency?
It all connects back to congressional action. When the government funding bills were passed last year, Congress quietly attached some new auditing rules and greater budgetary oversight. The goal was to prevent what they call improper payments. This wasn't a big headline, but it gave the SSA a very firm instruction. Clean up the files.
So the pressure isn't internal. It's coming from Capitol Hill demanding stricter auditing. How does that translate to, a 7-day window for you, the listener?
Because of a really crucial deadline tied to the year 2026.
Okay.
The SSA has been told to complete these file reviews, especially for records they haven't touched since before the pandemic, before the final 2026 CLA figures and Medicare adjustments are officially locked in.
So they want every file updated before they finalize next year's payment formula.
Exactly. They want a clean slate. That timing is everything, and it explains the accelerated timeline.
It means they have to verify your income, confirm your living arrangements, check disability documents right now.
Precisely. And because of this speed, the letters they're sending out are pretty diverse. You might get a routine verification request or something a bit more serious like an update request.
And some might even be a formal notice saying your benefit amount is under active evaluation.
Right. They're casting a really wide net to make sure they're in compliance.
Now here's where this deep dive gets interesting. While Congress's goal might be reducing improper payments, which, sounds like benefit cuts,
It does.
our sources are saying this accelerated review can actually work in your favor in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. Think about it. So many files are genuinely outdated. People's circumstances have changed. Maybe you moved, your income shifted, or an error was made at a local office years ago.
And it was never corrected.
Never corrected. This process forces the SSA to fix those long-standing errors. And correcting an error, like wrongly logged income, could potentially lead to a higher benefit payment for 2026.
So an evaluation for accuracy, it's not just about finding ways to cut payments.
That's the key. So getting this letter isn't automatically a bad thing, but it is a very clear signal that the SSA needs updated information from you to calculate your 2026 benefit.
Let's talk about who is being targeted, because this letter means very different things depending on which benefits you receive. Who's really under the microscope here?
The focus is heavily on groups that were sort of ignored during the pandemic slowdowns. We're talking about a few main categories.
Okay.
First, anyone with a known income change in the last couple of years. Second, people who got temporary state or federal help that might affect their resource limits.
Right, like pandemic aid.
Exactly. Third, SSDI recipients whose reviews for medical improvement were put on hold. And finally, just anyone who hasn't had a full review in the last 4 or 5 years.
So it's like they're clearing a massive backlog. So let's break it down by benefit type. If I'm an SSI recipient, what is that letter likely asking for?
For supplemental security income, or SSI, the review is almost entirely about your finances and your living
And
situation.
it's needs-based.
It's totally needs-based, so they need to verify everything. Any unreported income, changes to where you live, who you live with, and your total resources, your assets.
And a small change there can make a big difference.
A huge difference. And if you fail to respond, the SSA might just assume a worst-case financial scenario and could freeze or reduce your benefits until that file is complete.
What about the opposite, though, that potential raise you mentioned? How often does something like that actually happen for someone on SSI?
It's common enough to be statistically significant. Often, we find the previously recorded income was a little too high, or maybe an old asset was never taken off the file.
So when people submit accurate, updated documents,
They might find their benefits get a small bump up because their true financial picture is finally reflected. It's often not a huge amount, but it's money they were owed.
okay, let's move to SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. This is different. It's based on work history, not just need.
Right. For SSDI, the letter is usually focused on your ongoing medical status. It's what they call a continuing disability review.
So they're looking for what? Updated doctor's notes?
Updated medical evidence, treatment notes, or proof of any return to work activity. And this is where the time pressure is extremely high.
Why is that?
If you fail to provide the documents that prove you still meet their definition of disability within that short window, sometimes it's just 10 days, the SSA can legally pause your benefits.
Pause them completely.
Pause them until the paperwork is processed. Waiting weeks or even months for your checks to restart just because you missed a deadline is, well, it's a terrifying thought.
And it's a very real threat.
It is. I mean, if we look back at a jarring example from 2023, over 40,000 SSI recipients had their benefits paused that year.
Wow.
Not for fraud, but simply because they failed to return one required form on time. That meant weeks or months with no checks.
But they got the money back eventually, I assume.
They did. The benefits were restored retroactively. But you can imagine the financial chaos that caused in the meantime.
A single delayed piece of mail caused 40,000 households to lose their safety net. That really hammers home the urgency here.
It really does.
What about retirement beneficiaries? Are they also being audited this intensely?
Less intensely, but they're not immune. Retirement beneficiaries might get letters asking about things like government pensions or current wages if they're still working.
Foreign income, too.
Yes, foreign income. These factors can slightly adjust the formula for their 2026 payment. It's much less likely to result in a freeze, like with SSI or SSDI.
No.
But if you fail to verify this income, the SSA will just move forward using the old, potentially inaccurate data to calculate next year's check.
So the key takeaway here is, no matter what benefit you receive, the letter demands immediate action because the SSA is under pressure, and they will use whatever data they have on file if you don't respond.
Exactly. In the absence of current facts, they'll use old assumptions. And old assumptions often lead to problems.
All right, let's pivot now to the crucial part, Section 3, the immediate action plan. The goal here is to empower you to handle this quickly and accurately. So let's say that envelope lands on your kitchen table tomorrow. What is the single biggest mistake people make?
The single biggest mistake is setting it aside, just assuming it's a routine notice or more government bureaucracy.
Because the deadline is so short.
It's extremely short. We're talking 10 to 15 days in many cases. And that clock starts ticking the moment the letter is printed, not when you receive it.
So step 1, open it immediately. Treat it like an emergency notice.
Yes. Step 2 is about the details. You must read the instructions carefully. These letters are very specific.
They won't just say send income proof.
No. They might ask for pay stubs from June through August 2024, or the last 3 months of bank statements, or specific treatment notes from a certain doctor about a specific condition. You have to highlight those requirements.
That level of detail is so important. People rush and just send general documents, which only triggers another request and wastes more time.
Which brings us to step 3. Gather documents accurately.
Okay.
And make sure they cover the exact timeframes they ask for. If they want 3 months of statements and you send 2, the paperwork is considered incomplete.
And incomplete is just as bad as not sending it at all.
It has the same negative effect. It causes a delay. And that automatic decision process moves forward based on the old info.
So check and double check everything. And finally, step 4 is about speed. Respond early. What's the best way to make sure your response gets registered on time?
Mail is an option, but it's the slowest and least reliable. The best method, if you can, is to upload the documents through your My Social Security account online.
That gives you a digital receipt, right?
An immediate digital receipt, and it gets processed much faster. If you can't do that, taking them directly to a local office is the next best thing. Submission speed is key.
What about people who haven't gotten the letter yet? Should they just sit back and wait?
Being proactive is always the best defense. Not getting a letter could mean your file is fine, or it could just mean you're in a later wave of reviews.
So what should they do?
We advise every single listener to log into their My Social Security account right now, this week. Check that your address, phone number, direct deposit, and income are all current.
Because if they send that letter to an old address,
You'll miss the deadline entirely without even knowing it happened. It's critical.
and of course, whenever these official letters go out, the scammers are right behind them. We need a strong scam warning here.
This is non-negotiable. Be vigilant. If you get a phone call, a text, or an email claiming to be from the SSA about this review,
Asking for money.
asking you to pay a fee, buy a gift card, or give your personal banking details, it is a scam. 100%.
The real SSA will never do that.
Never. The real SSA will never ask for payment or sensitive banking info over the phone or email for a compliance review. If you have any doubt, hang up. Call your local SSA office directly using the official number on their website.
Okay, let's pull all this together. What is the fundamental change that people need to understand about their Social Security status right now?
The big picture is that this combination of the mandated audit cycle, the upcoming 2026 COLA figures, and Medicare adjustments has turned routine paperwork into a high-stakes deadline.
Your 2026 check is being calculated right now.
It is, and that calculation relies entirely on the accuracy of the file you submit during this review window.
This one letter holds immense power. It's the SSA's chance to verify your life situation. It could reduce your benefits. It could freeze them if you ignore it.
Or, and this is the surprising part for many, it could unlock a raise you were actually due all along by correcting an old mistake. The power is really in your hands to respond effectively.
And we want to leave you with some reassurance.
You are not alone in this. You're now armed with the steps you need. Millions of Americans go through these reviews successfully every year. The key is just to stay alert and act instantly.
So here's the final provocative thought for you to consider as you watch your mailbox this week. If the SSA is forced to use old, outdated information to calculate your 2026 benefits simply because you delayed action, what's the real long-term cost of that delay? It's not just about the missed money in 2026. That inaccurate data point becomes the new, flawed baseline for all your future calculations. It could trigger more reviews and even affect your Medicare premiums down the line.
It's a snowball effect.
It is. Don't let a small missed deadline today become a bureaucratic headache that follows you for years.